What if I told you that the 3 cheapest, most forgotten cars sitting on used lots right now are actually smarter investments than half the safe choices people are overpaying for in 2026? What if I told you that the cars everyone ignores, the ones that dealers practically hide behind rows of shiny crossovers, are the cars that will quietly save you thousands over the next 5 years while delivering better reliability than vehicles twice their price? And what if I told you that the only reason these cars are overlooked is because people buy with their egos, not with their brains? That's the truth. Manufacturers and dealerships will never tell you, because these cars don't make them money. These cars don't have expensive option packages, they don't need constant repairs, they don't break in ways that funnel cash back into the service department, they don't generate dealership profits, they just work. Dependable, undramatic, invisible. And that invisibility is exactly why they're such financial goldmines for anyone smart enough to look past hype and badge prestige. While everyone else is piling into turbocharged engines that cook themselves at 70,000 miles, or oversized crossovers that depreciate like crazy, these 3 ignored cars just keep doing what a car is supposed to do: start, run, and last. Let's start with number 3, the Mazda 2. Now, if your first reaction is, really, that tiny little hatchback? Then congratulations, you think exactly like everyone else who walks right past one on the lot. They see it as a slow, basic, boring economy car somebody buys only because they're broke or desperate. And that assumption is completely wrong, because beneath the cute exterior and the small dimensions lies something the general public never figured out. Mazda built the 2 with the same philosophy they used for the Miata: lightweight, balanced, over-engineered in the places that matter, and built to last. Mazda didn't treat the 2 like a disposable city car, they treated it like a driver's car, just one optimized for efficiency instead of speed. Start with the engine. A 1.5-liter 4-cylinder Skyactiv unit that makes just over 100 horsepower on paper, and that's where everyone stops reading. They see the number, compare it to something like a used Civic or Corolla, and go, nope, too slow. But that's because they don't understand the power-to-weight equation. The Mazda 2 weighs less than most modern hybrids' battery packs. It's one of the lightest cars sold in the last decade, and that single fact changes everything. Less weight means less stress on the engine, less stress means fewer parts wearing out, fewer parts wearing out means fewer repairs and lower costs, always. The Skyactiv engine is legendary among mechanics because it simply refuses to break. Timing chain, no turbo, no cylinder deactivation, no GDI carbon buildup issues, no transmission-killing torque loads. It's an engine built for people who want one thing: longevity. There are Mazda 2s out there with 180,000, even 260,000 miles still running on their original engines and transmissions, and they're not limping along. They're fine, because Mazda built this powertrain with old-school philosophy: keep it simple, keep it efficient, keep it durable. But the part people never expect, the part that shocks anyone who actually drives one, is how ridiculously fun it is. Perfect steering feel, great suspension tuning, and that near 50-50 weight balance mean the Mazda 2 handles like a car 3 times its price. It's playful, nimble, eager. It's the kind of car that turns a grocery run into a mini autocross session. And yes, autocross people know Mazda 2s are cult favorites. And it's cheap. Cheap to buy, cheap to drive, cheap to repair. Oil changes, pocket change. Brake jobs, cheaper than a single SUV tire. You can buy a full set of quality rubber for less than the price of 2 tires on a Toyota Highlander. Insurance companies barely charge anything for it because it's slow, safe, and impossible to crash at high speed unless you're absolutely trying to. The interior isn't luxury, but it's durable. No rattles, no cheap snapping plastic. Everything is laid out simply so you don't need a degree in computer science to understand the climate controls. It's not perfect, it's small. Cargo space is limited, highway passing requires planning. The back seat is best for small humans or people you don't like very much. But none of these things matter for the people who buy it, because the Mazda 2 was designed for real life, not for Instagram. And that's the theme you'll notice with all 3 cars on this list. Real-life value beats imaginary status every single time. But here's where the Mazda 2 becomes an unbelievable value: used prices. They are stunningly low. You can find clean examples under 10 grand, sometimes under 8. And the reason they're cheap isn't because they're bad cars, it's because nobody pays attention to them, which means they were typically owned by responsible adults who took care of them, not teenagers who use them as rally cars between high school and Taco Bell. If you want a cheap commuter, a reliable runabout, a city car that will never let you down, the Mazda 2 is one of the smartest buys on the market. But as good as the Mazda 2 is, number 2 on this list is even crazier because it gives you something the Mazda can't: SUV practicality, real ground clearance, all-wheel drive, cargo space, winter capability, and yet dealers practically beg people to buy them because nobody touches them. Number 2, the Mitsubishi ASX, also known as the Outlander Sport. And before your brain automatically goes, Mitsubishi? Nah, let me just say this, that reaction is exactly why this SUV is one of the best kept secrets in the used market right now. Because while everyone else is fighting over overpriced CR-Vs, RA4s, and CX-5s, this little Mitsubishi is quietly sitting on the corner of the lot, usually ignored, usually undervalued, and usually in better shape than anything else in its price bracket. This is the definition of a car people judge by its badge instead of its actual engineering. And the people who judge it, they're the ones missing out. Because beneath that unassuming exterior is an SUV built on old-school Mitsubishi toughness back when the company was still dominating rally stages and producing some of the most durable drivetrains in Japan. The ASX carries that DNA even if the modern consumer completely forgot. Start with the platform because this is where the car's true identity begins. The ASX is built on the same bones as the Mitsubishi Lancer. Yes, the same lineage that produced the Lancer Evolution. No, this isn't a secret Evo, but the structural foundations, rigidity, balance, predictable handling come directly from a platform that was engineered to take abuse. That's why you see ASX models hitting 180,000, 200,000, even 200,000 at miles with no major drivetrain failures. Mitsubishi didn't reinvent the wheel here, they used a proven one. Under the hood sits a naturally aspirated 2.0-liter 4-cylinder engine producing around 148 horsepower, and while that number won't impress anyone who buys cars for clout, it's exactly what you want for long-term reliability. No turbo, no complicated direct injection, no fragile technology designed to save 0.3 seconds in marketing brochures. Just a simple, durable, under-stressed engine that sips fuel and shrugs off daily abuse. Ask any mechanic who knows old-school Japanese engineering. Engines without boost last longer. Engines without unnecessary complexity fail less. And that's exactly the advantage the ASX has over its more expensive rivals. Then there's the CVT, and I know people love to groan when they hear CVT, but Mitsubishi's implementation built with JATCO is one of the more reliable versions on the market. Why? Because it's paired with an engine that doesn't overpower it. CVTs break when they're pushed beyond their limits. The ASX never asks too much of it. The result, smooth, drama-free operation that often lasts the life of the vehicle. Do you want real-world data? There are ASX models running original CVTs past 150,000 miles, some past 180,000. That simply doesn't happen with poorly matched transmissions. But the best part is the capability Mitsubishi baked into this thing, capability most buyers overlook because they assume the ASX is just another basic crossover. Wrong. This SUV has a legitimate all-wheel drive system. Not a marketing gimmick, not a slip and grip system that waits until you're already stuck before helping. This is a lockable, selectable AWD system with real mechanical tuning derived from Mitsubishi's decades of four-wheel drive experience. Snow, rain, mud, dirt roads, gravel, steep driveways, the ASX handles them without hesitation. It has 8.7 inches of ground clearance, which is more than enough for rough roads, beat-up city streets, and unpaved drives out to your weekend cabin. It's not trying to be a fake off-roader like some modern rugged crossovers. It's actually capable. Inside, the ASX keeps things simple, which is exactly what makes it last. There are no overcomplicated touch-sensitive climate panels that stop working after 3 summers, no 14-inch screens that glitch out during software updates, no delicate buttons that break off after normal use. Mitsubishi gave you physical controls, durable plastics, and a layout that normal non-tech obsessed humans can operate. And here's something nobody expects. The interior space is actually impressive. The front seats have great visibility. The rear seats accommodate adults better than some newer compact crossovers. And the cargo area is legitimately usable, with a wide opening and a low floor that makes loading heavy items much easier than you'd think. The ASX doesn't try to impress you with flash, it impresses you with function. But let's get to the part that matters most for you, money. Because this is where the ASX goes from underrated to you're basically stealing it. Used ASX prices are significantly lower than comparable Hondas, Toyotas, and Mazdas, sometimes thousands. You can easily find good condition ASX units between $6,500 and $11,000 depending on mileage and year. And because most buyers ignore this model, the ones you find have usually been owned by practical, responsible people, not teenagers, not modders, not aggressive drivers. Insurance, low. Maintenance, low. Repair frequency, low. Unexpected failures, rare. You're not buying a fragile, premium branded crossover, you're buying an honest, durable machine. And here's where things get even better. The ASX has already bottomed out on depreciation. That means the steep value drop already happened years ago. From here, it barely loses anything if you keep it maintained. It's the perfect buy for someone who wants affordable ownership without losing thousands when they eventually sell. Try finding that value in a used RAV4 that costs $17,000 with 150,000 miles and a service history full of recommended future repair. But the number one reason the ASX earns its spot on this list? Peace of mind. This is a crossover that doesn't lie to you, it doesn't pretend to be premium, it doesn't surprise you with hidden weaknesses, it just works. Every day, in every weather condition, in every every situation where you need a reliable companion. It is the definition of an intelligent purchase. However, as good as the ASX is, it's still not the most underrated cheap car on the market. Because number one is on a completely different level. Number one isn't just ignored. It isn't just underrated. Most people in America don't even know it exists, and that's precisely what makes it such an unbelievable deal. Number one is a crossover engineered with Volkswagen Group hardware, built with German precision, tuned with Spanish driving character, packed with modern features, and selling for a used price so low you'll think the dealer made a mistake. This is the car that lets you drive a VW grade machine without paying the VW grade premium. And once you understand what it is and what it shares with the Tiguan and Audi Q3, you'll wonder why anyone would pay full price for a badge when they could have essentially the same machine for thousands less. Get ready, because number one is the automotive world's best hidden bargain. Number one, the SEAT Ateca. The most overlooked, undervalued, and criminally ignored crossover in the used market today. And here's the twist. Not only do most people underestimate it, most people in America don't even know it exists. Which is exactly why it's the smartest cheap car you could possibly buy right now, because the Ateca isn't just a good car. It isn't just solid value. It isn't just nice for the price. No, the Ateca is something far more dangerous to the automotive status quo. A Volkswagen Group crossover disguised as a discount SUV. It's a Tiguan without Tiguan prices. It's an Audi Q3 without the Audi markup. It's German engineering hiding behind a Spanish badge the American buyer doesn't understand. And that ignorance is your advantage, because it lets you buy premium engineering for used Kia money. Let me show you why. Start with the platform. The Ateca sits on the MQB architecture, which is Volkswagen Group's golden child. The same multi-billion-dollar platform used for the VW Golf, VW Tiguan, Audi A3, Skoda Karoq, even the Audi Q3. This is one of the most refined, stable, safe, and well-tested vehicle architectures in modern automotive engineering. Millions of MQB-based vehicles have been sold across Europe. They've gone through every climate, every terrain, every driving condition imaginable. And the Ateca gets all of that engineering without the inflated badge tax. Now let's talk engines, because this is where the Ateca becomes a total sleeper. The most common and most balanced engine is the 1.5-liter TSI turbo 4-cylinder, about 150 horsepower. That doesn't seem impressive until you factor in the torque curve. Turbocharged torque comes early, making the Ateca feel quick, light on its feet, responsive, and far more energetic than its horsepower rating suggests. But the real magic is the efficiency. We're talking high 30s MPG combined with real-world driving. Not theoretical numbers, not best-case scenario, actual mixed driving. For a crossover with real practicality, that's outrageous. Then there's the engine upgrade to the 2.0-liter TSI. This turns the Ateca into a proper performance sleeper. 190 horsepower, 236 Nm of torque paired with Volkswagen's tried-and-true 4-drive AWD system. It's legitimately quick, low 7 seconds to 60 mph, which is hilarious when you remember the Ateca is considered a budget SUV. This is the kind of acceleration you expect from sporty hatchbacks, not from a forgotten family crossover. But straight line speed is just the appetizer. The handling is where you taste the full Volkswagen DNA. SEAT, unlike VW and Audi, tunes their cars for people who actually enjoy driving. The steering is sharper, the suspension is firmer but controlled. The dampers respond instantly to road imperfections. The chassis feels tight, no flex, no slop, no floaty sensation on the highway. It's one of the few crossovers that actually drives like a car. You forget it's a taller vehicle, you forget it has SUV proportions, you forget it's supposed to be practical first, because it's fun, and fun is not something crossovers are known for. But here's the part that truly exposes how much people overpay for branding. The Ateca uses Volkswagen Group parts everywhere. The infotainment system, Volkswagen software. The switchgear, straight from VW parts shelves. The transmissions, Volkswagen DSG dual clutch or 6-speed autos. The AWD hardware, Haldex AWD, the same system used in Audis and Volkswagens for years. You're literally getting the same architecture, the same components, the same engineering pedigree that buyers spend thousands extra for when they choose a Tiguan or an Audi Q3. The difference? C8 doesn't have the marketing budget, so the Ateca sells for less. It's not cool in the US, it's not trendy, it's not plastered all over social media, and that lack of brand recognition is exactly why its used prices are shockingly low. Before we talk numbers, let's quickly explore the interior, because this is where buyers would be stunned if they knew what they were sitting in. Soft touch materials in all the right places. A clean, driver-focused dashboard layout, Volkswagen tier fit and finish. No weird rattles, no cheap flexing door panels, no hollow-feeling controls. The Ateca feels like a car that should cost more, because the expensive versions of this platform do cost more under different brand names. And space, the interior packaging is brilliant. Front seats are spacious, rear seats comfortably fit adults. Cargo capacity is among the best in the compact crossover class. Over 510 liters with seats up and more than 1,600 liters with seats folded. That's more usable space than some crossovers that cost $10,000 more. Then there's safety. Euro NCAP gives the Ateca a 5-star rating with strong performance across all crash categories. It's loaded with tech like adaptive cruise control, lane assist, blind spot monitoring, and autonomous emergency braking. Not as expensive options, but standard or commonly equipped. In other words, you're not buying an outdated or stripped-down crossover. You're buying something that beats many premium competitors on features. But now let's talk money, because this is the final knockout punch that makes the Ateca 1. Used prices are shockingly low. You can find Atecas in great condition selling for a fraction of the cost of a comparable VW or Audi. We're talking thousands less than a Tiguan, thousands less than a CX-5, thousands less than a used Q3. It's not because they're unreliable. They aren't. It's because Americans don't know the badge, so demand stays artificially low. Insurance, lower than VW. Maintenance, same parts, cheaper labor. Repairs, same Volkswagen components, minus the premium markup. Depreciation, mostly done. It holds value better once it hits the sweet spot in used markets. And here's the part dealership insiders know but never say out loud. The Ateca is one of the few used crossovers where you're getting more car than you're paying for. Most crossovers are the opposite. You pay for hype, badge value, and marketing. With the Ateca, you pay for none of that. You just get the engineering. This is the car that lets you drive like you spent $30,000 when you actually spent $12,000, $16,000. This is the car that gives you German refinement without German repair bills. This is the car that turns heads only when someone actually drives it, because then the quality speaks for itself. So if the Mazda 2 is the perfect cheap driver's car, and if the Mitsubishi ASX is the perfect cheap, durable SUV, then the SEAT Ateca is the perfect cheap, premium crossover, the one nobody knows about, nobody talks about, and nobody realizes is essentially a Volkswagen in disguise. But here's the thing, there's still one more part of this video you need, something that ties everything together and keeps viewers watching. The final cinematic outro that seals the emotional connection, reinforces the value, and leaves your audience feeling smarter than the average buyer. And that's coming next. So now you've seen the truth behind the 3 most ignored, underestimated, and underpriced cars on the used market today. 3 vehicles that don't scream for attention. 3 vehicles nobody flexes on social media. 3 vehicles that most shoppers overlook because they're too busy chasing brands, badges, and trends that drain their wallets without delivering real value. But that's the beauty of being the kind of buyer who actually does their homework. Because once you understand the logic behind these 3 cars, the Mazda 2, the Mitsubishi ASX, and the SEAT Ateca, you realize something most people never figure out. Value isn't found in engineering, longevity, and smart ownership. Let's recap everything these cars offer, not as a checklist, but as a mindset shift. Most car buyers only pay attention to what everyone else is buying. They follow trends, they follow hype, they follow whatever the dealership advertises the most aggressively, and that's why they get stuck paying thousands more for vehicles that aren't any more reliable, any more durable, or any more practical than what you saw today. Meanwhile, the Mazda 2 sits quietly in the corner of a used lot, waiting for someone who understands that lightweight design, naturally aspirated engines, and mechanical simplicity are the recipe for a car that outlasts everything else. It's small, yes, but it's engineered with the kind of care companies rarely apply to economy cars anymore. What other sub-$10,000 car gives you handling that rivals sports cars, maintenance costs that barely dent your bank account, and an engine that's nearly bulletproof? Then you have the Mitsubishi ASX, the SUV everyone forgets exists, the one that dealers practically give away because it doesn't have the right badge, the one built on a platform so robust that rally drivers recognize its DNA. Yeah, a crossover with real AWD capability, real ground clearance, real durability. It's the SUV built for people who need a car that simply works every single day without drama. And the fact that it's cheap isn't a reflection of quality, it's a reflection of how uninterested the average buyer is in anything that isn't a popular brand name. And finally, the SEAT Ateca, the most astonishing overlooked bargain in the entire compact crossover world. A vehicle engineered on the same platform as the Tiguan and Audi Q3. A vehicle with Volkswagen Group hardware, German build integrity, Spanish tuning, and a price tag so low it feels like a glitch in the market. A vehicle most Americans don't even recognize, which is exactly why it's such an incredible buy. You're getting the mechanical heart of a VW or Audi for used Kia money. If that doesn't open people's eyes about how broken the car buying mindset is in 2026, nothing will. And there's something deeper here, something bigger than the specs, the handling, or the durability. It's about freedom. Freedom from massive car payments. Freedom from expensive repairs that show up at the worst possible time. Freedom from the stress of owning a car that feels fragile or overcomplicated. Freedom from following what everyone else is doing and paying the price for it. These 3 cars don't try to impress anyone. They just quietly outperform expectations year after year, mile after mile. They are the vehicles for people who think long-term, people who value engineering over image, people who care more about how a car serves their life than how it looks in a parking lot, people who understand that the smartest decisions are often the ones nobody else notices. And here's the best part. You don't need to be rich to own something good. You just need to be smarter than the average buyer. You now know the hidden gems, the cars that protect your wallet, simplify your life, and deliver reliability. The automotive market doesn't advertise anymore, and if you were someone who always assumed you had to spend big money to get a dependable car, now you know the truth. You don't. There's power in choosing differently. There's power in not getting manipulated by marketing. There's power in being the person who buys what works, not what's trendy. So if this video opened your eyes, if you feel like you just discovered what dealerships don't want you to know, if you realize now that boring cars are sometimes the smartest cars, I want you to do one thing. Trust your instincts. Not the market, not the hype, not the badge, your instincts. Because the best car you'll ever own isn't the one with the most followers on Instagram. It's the one that stays on the road, stays cheap to maintain, stays reliable, and stays by your side long after the trendy cars have worn out. And that's exactly what these three ignored cars do. Whether it's the Mazda 2's simplicity, the ASX's rugged practicality, or the Ateca's German-engineered hidden excellence, you now have the power to make a choice that 90% of buyers will overlook and 100% of your future self will thank you for. Because at the end of the day, the smartest car isn't the one everyone wants. It's the one nobody sees coming.